Hello everybody, good day and welcome to another episode of Make Your Home Your Castle here at Art of Clean. I want to remind you the reason why I do these videos, so that for those of you that watch this, you just have a clear understanding of what the purpose of this and how it can help you. My name is Pierre, and for 17 odd years I've been working in the cleaning and restoration business. I was involved in it years before, but it is really that I started focusing on flooring and soft furnishing here about 15 to 17 years ago. So in this time I've helped many people, and over the years I've seen so many questions, and I keep answering them and I keep answering them and I keep answering them. And I thought, you know what, it's a good idea to put this session together where all this information can still be available on our website, on our YouTube channel, on our Facebook page, and people can always go and find this information again. In addition to this, also with considering everything we've been through in the last 13 odd months, I would say, we have seen such a roller coaster ride, and I'm sure so have you. We've helped people, we've helped our communities, and it came to a point where I really felt I needed to do something. Because some of you might not totally be ready yet to have us in the home, although we are totally flooded with phone calls at the moment, and we are so blessed and grateful for support. Also soon our newsletter would come through to those of our clients that have used us over the years, and there's some offers in there. And you know what, we know we're only growing from strength to strength with everything that's happening, getting us back to normal again. So I want to thank you for your support to help us to get back, help our local community get back to normal. But at the same time, for those of you that's not totally ready to have us yet, so here's what I want to do. I wanted to put something together where I can solve small little challenges for you. And you know what, the information I want to give you is something that I feel would help you, that in some cases, if not all, you would be able to do it yourself. Now, there are exceptions to the rule where unfortunately it's only a professional that can do it for you. But please watch this and see how I can help you, and send your questions in. If you might be watching this and you think, heck, you know what, I've got a question, send it in. Here's the benefit for you. Just behind me, you'll see there's a beautiful rug. This rug was sponsored by Persian Tribal Rugs, Farad in Cambridge, and he's a lovely guy. We've known him for many years, and we decided to go and get the rug from him. And we're giving this rug away at the end of all these sessions that I do roughly once a week, answering questions. We'll then have a big draw. As part of that draw, we'll also draw a prize, which is the SIBO vacuum cleaner. This is a slightly lighter version, the Felix, a brilliant machine. Nice and light to go up the stairs, because many people say, heck, my vacuum cleaner is a bit heavy. So there's a brand new SIBO vacuum cleaner there. Also, again, subsidized by SIBO. We paid a small amount, but I'm very grateful for SIBO. We also use the SIBO vacuum cleaners in our vehicles. And then also we've decided to give away £1,000 worth of cleaning. And you can choose whatever service we supply. For the cleaning and restoration side of our business, and you can have us in to do the work for you. This is just our way to say, hey, thanks so much for taking part. And then also we have had a lovely sponsorship from these Balkan pottery people. Amazing. So I've done a little work for her on a tile polishing job, and she's giving us a wine decanter, so we're also giving that away. So look out for Balkan Pottery. They are lovely people, and a little tiny prize that goes out. And then week to week, I want to make it a little interesting. So here's what we do. We give away a Pelman cleaning kit. This is a kit that you use for cleaning your wooden floors. This is general maintenance. So there's a kit there with a microfiber mop and a spray cleaner. This is the product, so you get that, and then you get your mop heads and everything else in there. So we give that away. And then also we've had a brilliant sponsorship from Utsin as well. Now Utsin is a great company. They make the floor leveling compounds, they make the glues, everything that goes under the floor they make, and they're a lovely company. And they have sponsored us some shirts and some pens and things, and we send that out as well. So the winner of this week, we'll draw them over at the Wheel of Fortune. So let me show you that. There we are with our wheel, with the lights on. Everything is ready to go. So you might spot your name up there if you've submitted the question. So what I do is I spin the wheel and we choose a winner, and they get a shirt and they get a Pelman kit. And then at the end of all these sessions, we'll then have a big draw for the big prizes. So without further ado, you know what, you're not here to listen to me talk, you're here to listen to me giving you some solutions to your challenges. First one came from Safka Akister. Now Safka has asked if we can help with these cushions have been exposed to moisture, and sadly they've had bad mold growth on them. You can clearly see these are the interiors of the cushions. So she asked, how would you like to quote for cleaning of the removable furniture cushions that have been damaged by mold? The cushion cover is sewn into the cushion and we haven't been able to disinfect or wash the covers. Photos of the cushions attached. There are 4 more of this. So she has asked, Safka has asked, how would we deal with this problem? Or how can she deal with this problem? And to stick true to my commitment to give you absolute true advice here as to might sometimes be even something we don't do for you, but I point you in the right place to go to get this done. So Safka, with regards to the question on these cushions, we also have had some of these and happen in the past, and in some cases we can clean them. Now, if I look at the photo here, it's quite clear that there was some extreme damage to them, so they must have got wet and they stayed wet for a while, and the mold growth has gone right into the cushion. Now, of course, without having the cushion in my hand, it's difficult to say, but I can clearly see from this photo that this is quite severe. And cushions is something we can get in close contact with, so I would always be super cautious to just say, you know what, let's give it a quick clean. It looks clean, but actually the mold growth is inside the cushion. And what happens is, you sit on that cushion, and every time you compress it, it pushes the air out of the cushion. And if there's mold spores inside that cushion, the mold spores can go into the air. And that's not good for you because you breathe it in all the time. So you might start to find you've got allergic reactions, you've got a skin rash, you feel not well, you don't know why. But what it can be is that mold that sits inside that cushion, that's now dried, and the spores are getting constantly compressed out of it, and it gets airborne. So it's not really good for your health. So Safka, what I would recommend you do is get in touch with a good upholsterer. Take this to them and they may be able to make you a new inner. Now, the inners of cushions doesn't necessarily mean it's that expensive, and that way you can still save the piece. Because the other thing that's close to my heart is also try to make sure that we do not create more waste in the environment. You know what? I'm an avid scuba diver. Me and my wife goes at least once a year, and of course the last 13 months has been the longest time since we haven't been. But it breaks my heart when we go and see all the rubbish in the sea, and considering all the rubbish that goes into landfill, you know what, it always breaks my heart. So try and save the environment. And if we can save something like this, you know what's another thing that don't need to go in landfill, we can enjoy it for a few more years, make it last a little bit longer. So Safka, what I would recommend we do is, let me take you back to the screen, and I've got a few numbers for you here. So these are the cushions, and I really would say they are definitely in need of a new inner, and then they can look at the fabric on the outside and possibly do that. So on the screen here, you'll see I've got 2 names for you. I've got Adrian Reed in Waterbeach. He's an upholstery. He's a brilliant guy. We send a lot of work his way. You can get him on the Cambridge number here, 860-800. He's really a nice guy, and he would look after you there. Otherwise, Mantis, I've met him at some events we've been to around Cambridge, and he is on Mill Road, and there's his number there, 07763 243 879, and any one of those 2 would be able to help you with creating a new inner for your cushion. And then what can happen is they can take that cover off, as you say, stitched in, so we can see if that is loose. Then we can either dry clean it for you through our dry cleaners at Farthings. There's 2 branches. We've got the one in Milton Road in Cambridge, and we've got the one in Trumpington in Cambridge, so dry cleaning can help. Of course, if you're outside of Cambridge, for Farthings, you can also go to Newmarket. Brian and James, they're lovely people. They'll be able to help you with that. Alternatively, we also have Mickey in Bury St Edmunds, and she would be happy to help you there as well. So, Safka, I trust that helps you. You know, your health and well-being is really important to me, so it doesn't help I just tell you, listen, we can do this if I feel it's not in your best interest. So Rebecca Featherstone asks, she's got a job coming up with us. I know that the filling of the gaps and fixing loose parquet wooden tiles, but will it also ensure that tiles won't come up again? How confident are you that the floor will endure being walked on and without the tiles coming up, and for how long? So, Rebecca, as far as I know, we've got a job coming up for you, and we will be sanding and refinishing this 5-finger parquet floor. So we will be securing the loose blocks, and we will then be finishing the floor. So sanding the blocks. What we usually do is lift the loose blocks out and glue them down one by one, because unfortunately with these floors it's a bit like a domino effect. Once you start picking some out, they start just to creep. And then glue them down, Sometimes, it doesn't always happen, but sometimes they sit a little proud, so that's better to glue them down first, and then what you'll do is you'll finish the floor by sanding it and then putting the finish on. You will also fill the gaps. So what the question is here is, how secure would this be? Now, let's explore this, and I've said this before in other videos that I made about parquet and five-finger parquet in particular. What they do is they use a bitumen glue. Now, the bitumen glue is years ago, before DPMs, which is damp-proof membranes, have really been a big thing. So damp-proof membranes is installed into the floor to prevent the moisture coming through the floor. And especially with wood floors, this is very important. So DPMs have been installed that time, and what they did was they used bitumen glues. Now, the bitumen glue is a black glue, and that is also acting as a DPM as well as a glue. Now, what happens over time is this bitumen glue dries out, and as it dries out, it becomes brittle, it cracks, and these blocks become loose. Now, sometimes it happens in a certain area on the floor, and what you do is you walk around tapping on the floor, and as you tap on the floor, you'll hear the blocks are loose, and in other places they're not. So what you do is you lift those out and you stick them down. But as this continues to happen, the floor dries out continuously, the bitumen is brittle and more of the blocks come loose. You might have us come in and secure those blocks, and 3 years later there's some other blocks loose in other places. You'll also notice we've done recently a project in Chesterton for a church there, St. George, and we've made a lovely video because we support the community there. And in that video, we've secured some blocks. Now, we didn't mention in the video that the reason those blocks are loose is exactly that reason. The bitumen glue has dried out and becomes brittle, and then these blocks start coming out. So they've had a good, probably about 10 blocks. Now, they were bigger blocks. They're not as small as this one Rebecca has, but this is exactly the same reason. So probably in about 5 years' time, we'll go back there and we'll see another 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 blocks loose, maybe even more, because the bitumen dries out. Now, what you should do is you come to securing this floor. Let's say you are thinking of, you know what, these blocks are loose, I want to glue them down, what can I do? Of course, considering you glue it down, it might stand a little proud, you might be good enough at sanding it yourself, so what would you do? And what would we do? So, it's very important to understand that the bitumen glue is a little bit like if you have painted your skirting boards with a solvent-based paint, right? And then you go to B&Q or the hardware store or to Johnson Paint, and you go and buy a good quality water-based paint. And then what you do is you take this paint, and this water-based paint, you just put it over the skirting board. Now, what's going to happen if that paint is dry? You're literally going to be able to scrape it off right away. So what happens there is that the water-based glues will not adhere to the solvent type of what bitumen is, because bitumen repels the moisture. Water-based glues will not necessarily adhere. Now, you can sometimes get away with it. If you clean it up really well, you might secure it, and it might last for a while, but it's not advised to do it that way. So you want to get something, a glue, that will adhere as well as it possibly can to that bitumen, the old bitumen glue, but inevitably you won't get it all off unless you grind it, and if you just lift a few fingers of wood blocks out, you're not going to get it out. So what is advised? Let's head over to the screen again and I'll show you there. So what we do then here, in particular, Rebecca, if you're watching this, we personally would use the Leckol 5500 glue, because this is has got some solvents in it, and it would adhere well to the bitumen. And then the other alternatives, I've done a bit of research, and there are other alternatives. So we've got this Lumberjack 160 wood bond. That's also an option. Otherwise, I have been speaking to Terry of Ultimate Floor Care, and he has found that Bostik Damp-Proofer came as very highly regarded, and they might go as far as saying that they guarantee the blocks won't come up, although, you know, it can be messy because it's a black glue and it can bleed through, so that's why we don't personally use this one. The alternative is Sika 5500S, so this is also a glue you can use. You will notice all these are in a tin can because they are solvent or contain solvents, and we stick those down using that glue. Now, if we stick them down, there's no guarantee that they would last forever. The only way we can be sure that that floor you'll put down will last forever is unfortunately lifting the whole thing and relaying it using a very modern type of glue, because we are making the floor as good as we can. Now, over the years, we've secured blocks, and I cannot remember that we've once had somebody call us back saying the blocks didn't stick. So the glues we use work really well, but there's no guarantee they would absolutely stay down forever. So Rebecca, I trust that helps you understand how we'll go about doing this. And also very important to realize here that if you have loose blocks, you might have an area that's not loose at the moment, but it might become loose later. It's also possible it might never become loose, but inevitably over the time it would. So what to do about pet stains on carpets? And what I'm talking about now is particularly urine stains. So you've got a puppy, and the puppy urinated on the carpet, and of course, as they train and get the house trained, this can happen on many different spots, unfortunately. So what I want to do is just first explain what is the science behind it? Why is there some cases a yellow mark, some cases a dark mark, and when can it come out and when it's less likely to come out, and so on. So urine goes down on a carpet and it goes down as acidic. As soon as it leaves the body, it's sterile, and it contains a lot of salts, and if you take a pH meter to it, you'll find it's acidic, right? The urine goes down on the carpet, and then as it goes in the carpet, it starts to dry, and then crystals form. The salt crystals, as it dries, is left behind. So it's a little bit like going to the ocean and getting a little pan of seawater and put it in the sun and let it evaporate, and you're going to have some crystals there. That's going to be salt crystals. So the same thing would happen if the puppy has a number 1 on your carpet. So this happens, of course, in different spots, and then what nature does, it takes care of what's ever left behind. It's a bit like a tree falling over, and the worms come and take care of it, and it eats it up, and 17 years later, there's a little bit of a stump left on the floor. So it's a similar thing that happens here. Bacteria's responsibility now is to go and break these salts down. So what you then find is bacteria moves in to break the salts down or whatever's left there. And as the bacteria breaks these salts down, they off gas. So they create a smell. And this is the smell that you get from the urine. And that creates that bad smell in the air. Now, you will then find that because these bacteria breaks down these salts, they off gas. So there's some gas that comes off, or they create in the process of breaking down. So we can say maybe the bacteria, you can maybe go as far as saying the bacteria is sort of parting a gas that is creating this smell. And also this gas is alkaline. And it's this that changed the color of the carpet. This is what harms the wool, because it's highly alkaline, and wool is sensitive to a high alkalinity or high acidity. So, of course, as soon as the urine goes down, it's acidic. So it's most probably not that acidic to harm the carpet in that moment in time, but as soon as that alkaline hits, because the bacteria breaks it down, that then creates that alkaline solution that then changes the color of the carpet and harms the wool. So if you have a wool carpet and the puppy has had an accident on it, and it changed color, and usually it goes a yellow color or something like that, it can be other colors as well, and then we'll come around, we'll clean it for you. Now, you cannot really repair that color of the urine. In some cases, what we find here when we clean rugs, for example, we'll get a beige rug in, and there will be a yellow stain on that beige rug. So what happens then is that we'll be cleaning the rug and drying the rug, and there's still a stain there. So what we'll do is we will use a special product that then reduces this yellowness and not harm the wool. And this is then left in the sun or in the sunlight to UV to work, and the mark then looks better. It's not always guaranteed that it would go. So if we clean a carpet in particular, the one this person has sent in was a slight pale blue color carpet. And this carpet then had these marks on it, and because it's lost that pale blue color, when you clean it, it's not going to go. And then, of course, what we now want to do in this case is sanitize the carpet. So we want to go in there, rinse out what's in there. So that means the salts that's left behind, the bacteria that's left behind, that all is going to be taken care of. And then we have a product that we need to sanitize the carpet with. And I've got it here. So we will be using this EnviroSafe product. This is exactly the same product that we will be using when we also clean surfaces when we've been to your home. So it's a really good sanitizer, and what we'll do is apply that to the carpet and then rinse the carpet out and then leave your carpet as sanitary as possible. Now, of course, here's something to remember. if the puppy has grown and the volume of urine has increased, every time they wee, you might see a little tiny mark on the carpet that size. But under the carpet, the urine is soaked, and many times you'll see a little stain on the top, but at the back, it's a big, big mark. So you can't wet the carpet so much to rinse that out, because if you have 500 mils of urine going down, you need to 4 times that to rinse into the carpet and pull back out. Now, we've got tools to do that, but it's not always practical because you can harm the carpet in the process. So it's a fine balance between making sure what we do is safe for the carpet, but at the same time remove as much of this as you possibly can. And of course, what I stress here is, especially if you've got a light pale color to the carpet, or maybe even a dark carpet, and you started seeing those yellow marks, I tell you now, those marks will not go out. The other way to do it is color repair the carpet, where you can actually apply color back to the carpet. But this is expensive, and if you have multiple stains all over the carpet, then it becomes more economical to just rather replace the carpet. But if the carpet is not that old and you're happy to live with a few little marks here and there, then we can come in and do the work for you, so that's not a problem at all. Now, another thing that can sometimes happen is these marks can go dark brown or black, and you clean it and it just suddenly comes out. Now, the reason why that happens is there's synthetic carpet as well. So typically more polypropylene, sometimes nylon, although nylon can also be affected by the urine alkalinity in particular. So a polypropylene carpet, and many times when you go to the carpet shop, you'll find they sell you a carpet that's bleach cleanable. Now, that means that it's polypropylene, solution dyed. That's another very technical thing that I'm not going to bore you at the moment with. But basically, that carpet is fairly bomb-proof with regards to losing color or changing color. So what you find is this urine goes on the carpet, and sometimes it can attract dirt because it's slightly sticky. That saltiness is sticky, and it becomes dark, and a dark patch can appear. And I've seen it over the years where you go to a carpet like that has urine on it, and you clean it, and just simply by rinsing it, you just rinse that away and it cleans up really beautifully. But of course, you have to put quite a lot of cleaning solution in there to pull it out. And sometimes this urine soaks right into the underfloor as well, and the smell never goes, so it depends how bad it is. So that is also something to consider. And lastly, what we need to consider with urine as well. I've seen this happen before, where you go in, you clean a carpet, it looks perfectly fine. Somebody's moved in 2 years ago, it's a beautiful home, and they bought it from the previous owners that had a dog, and the carpet looks a bit grubby, but it was okay. So for 2 years or so, they lived there, and they said, you know what, Pierre, come in, get the team in, let's clean the carpet. We go in, we clean the carpet, and we know they've had a dog, so we'll be using this product I talked about earlier, spray it on the carpet, and then clean the carpet to keep it sanitary. And we clean the carpet, and the following day they call us up and say, well, Pierre, the smell is just absolutely horrendous, and I don't know where it came from. Are you sure the water you used is clean? And then what has happened here is, of course, many, many years ago when we were very new to this, we went, well, we'll come back and we'll clean the carpet again. And of course, to this day, that's what we do. So we will increase the application of sanitizer, and we'll clean the carpet. In most cases, that deals with the problem. But there are rare situations where the urine has been so deep ingrained in the carpet, and sometimes even the subfloor, that the cleaning reactivates that salts, because the salts has dried out so much that the bacteria can't break it down anymore. The salts remain in the carpet because the home is really dry. They might run the heating in the winter really high, and then eventually the smell goes. And we go in, we clean the carpet, and suddenly that moisture has gone back in the crystals, the bacteria moves in, they start breaking it down, there's an awful smell in the room, and that caused that smell. And unfortunately, after 2-3 cleans, sometimes we just say, you know what, have the money on us, have your money back, take it, go and spend it on a new carpet, because unfortunately that's just the way it is. The risk you have is you can come try and rinse that carpet out. Eventually what will happen is, if it's a tufted carpet, it will delaminate, so that means bubbles appearing on the carpet, and then you're going to replace it anyway. So I'd rather give you money, go and buy another carpet and replace that. And also very important, replace the underlay. And if the subfloor has been affected, it's best to seal the underfloor, sometimes with a coat of polyurethane or something like that, a paint, just to lock that urine in, and then put the new underlay on and the new carpet on top. So that should deal with it. So Linda asked a very interesting question. She asked, what's the best floor finish that will cope with a wheelchair? So Linda had us out to have a look at the wood floor, and Linda has asked what's the best finish for a wood floor if you're a wheelchair user. So what I want to discuss here are the different options. So mainly, quickly, briefly, the two options we provide is either oil finish, which means it penetrates into the wood. And I've got a little sample here. Let's see if I can show you this. So that is our oiled finish, natural oil on a pine floor. This is a lacquered finish on a oak floor. Now, if you look carefully, you can see a bit of a sheen to the surface. So in this case, this is an oak floor. The coating sits at the top. This is a oiled finish inside a pine floor, so this is very natural. And we have the same, but this one is a lacquered finish. You can see there's a bit of a sheen on that. So those two finishes are the main finishes we offer. This is site finish, so that means after the floors have been installed, we can do it for you. And the benefit of the oil finish is that it's repairable. Now, with the wheelchair, Linda, what you'll find is that the wheels will probably travel very much similar pattern. And over time, you'll find to see where the route of the wheelchair is around the home. And what you want to give yourself is the chance to easily repair this. So in several years' time, when it is really worn, you might say, well, you know what, let's get that repaired, a little bit of a key back. And this usually works quite well on an oak floor, where it stays quite flat. The thing we find with pine, it's a softer floor, so it dents in, and that means that you need to sand it sooner than you do oak floor. So the best finish I would say for a wheelchair is going to be your oil finish, and also it gives you a little bit more grip to the floor. Not that a lacquer floor is more slippery. It still certainly meets criteria and requirements by law, but the oil finish, because it gives you a natural finish, has a bit more grip to it. So that gives you a better finish for a floor where you know inevitably you will need to do some repairs, because with a wheelchair you will soon find that the repair is going to be needed sooner than a floor where there's not a wheelchair user in the home. Now, of course, you can do a lacquer finish, and a lacquer finish in particular is very good for bathrooms and kitchens. So if you have a bathroom or a kitchen, we'll still say, you know what, let's rather go and do a lacquer finish in that, even though it might be a wheelchair that goes over it. And what we then advise, have a look at the floor, keep an eye on it, and as soon as it starts to get worn, let's rather put a fresh coat on without heavy sanding, so it's key back and a fresh coat of lacquer over the top of that. The few things to consider is a walk-off mat at the door. Now, I know if you're in a wheelchair, you won't necessarily be able to stand on your walk-off mat, but for those people that come in walking, they will lose the dry soil under their shoes at the walk-off mat. So a nice big coir mat at the entrance, walk-off mats at the doors, and especially if you have a stone driveway, a gravel driveway, there's inevitably a bit of sand and grit that sticks to your shoes, and that comes in, and the wheelchair will then grind that onto the floor. So a good regular dry mop as well. What we can do in the Palman cleaning kit, this one here that we're giving away at the end of today, is they do a dry mop head. So this attached to the mop head, and then you go over the floor lifting the dry soil off with that. Alternatively, you also have a special attachment that attached to the SIBO vacuum cleaner that you can use going around the home and then getting up the dry soil. So dry soil removal will be essential to keep that gritty sand off the floor so that the wheelchair don't keep wearing out. So Linda, I trust that answers your question on the wheelchair. And talk to us more. Just quickly recapping, I would say the oil is a better option, but if you have got it in the bathroom, if you got wood in the bathroom or in the kitchen, then I would say maybe the lacquer is a better option there. So Jamie asked this question. Wonder if you possibly could help us. We have strip floor about 20 centimeters or 8 inches between two wooden floors, and you can see there's what looks like a quarry tile or a brick, two sides of wood and a strip of tiles, quarry tiles or bricks that sit between the two. And the two floors and one which expands, and what we've tried isn't working. See attached, it's a mess, and I really hope you can help. Okay, so Jamie, what we see here is, you will notice first thing is there's the gap you're talking about. I believe this is what you're talking about. Of course, there's a little tiny gap there, but it's not that bad. So you can see there's many attempts been made to fill that gap in. And you'll also notice that the boards, these boards run this direction and those boards run sideways. It do appear to be pine. This is definitely pine. That might be a slightly different timber. I'm not totally sure. So how to deal with fixing this, and if we scroll down you can see there's a big old gap down the side there, and probably underneath this you will probably find that there's a wall that was taken out or something like that, and this is why. So So it might be a lounge diner or something like that. It's been opened up and the wall was taken out and they've just put these tiles on top of the wall. So let's see what can be done about that. So remember I said in the photo, you'll notice there is two directions. This wood floor runs that way and that wood floor runs that way with the tiles in the middle. So basically this block moves that way and this block sits this way, so the two are apart with tiles in the middle. In fact, it's probably a little easier if I do it this way. So let's move a few things around here and then show you. So this one floor will run one way, and then the other floor would run the other way, and then you have the tiles in the middle like that. So the grain of this wood runs that way and the grain runs this way here, so the tile is in the middle. And what will happen with wood floors is they expand and contract in the season. They absorb moisture from the air, and then what we tend to see is in the winter they dry out because we switch our heating on in the home, and that makes the air drier, so it absorbs water from everywhere, and including the floor. So that means this gap then becomes bigger just here, as you can see. Now in the summer months, what happens is the moisture increase in the home, and this actually starts to move back and close that gap. Now you might ask yourself, why would it happen on one side but not the other so much? I do suspect there's a little bit of movement on this side, but it's probably not that much in Jamie's case. So what we will do then is explain why we see this gap first of all, and then we'll talk about how to fix that little challenge. So this opens up because a wood floor will expand in the width, not in the length so much. It will make it maybe go a little bit more this way, but it expands more in the width, and that's why you see that happen. So Jamie, the best thing to do is first of all make sure that there's support under this hole. So that gap there, I'm not sure if there's something underneath that gap, and then it needs to have support, otherwise whatever you fill in there is just going to fall out like it did here. So make sure that it's all nicely filled, and then what we want to do is make sure that there's something that's a little bit, it has got a little bit of give in it. So here's what I would suggest we do. Palman do a lovely what's called spray cork. This is it, right? So let me give you a little bit of a close-up. So this is the product, and what it is cork, right? Like the cork strips you see around the room, but this is in a sort of a liquid format, or a gel format really. And what you do with this is you would use this and insert it in that gap. Now what I would do, if I'm going to go to a little bit of a close-up shot here, if this is the block, let's turn this around and show you better, right? So this is your block and there's a gap that appeared, and I'm going to make the gap a little bit bigger. This block sits fine, but you've got now a gap there that you want to fill, and I'm making this gap bigger than it really is because I want you to see it on the screen. And what I would advise we do is make sure first of all there's something underneath that supports this filler that we'll be using in the gap, right? And then what we'll do is tape this side, tape that side with some masking tape, and then take this filler and we fill that gap, but we fill it a little bit proud, okay? And then leave it to dry for a few days, and then what we'll do is take a knife, something like this, right? And what we'll do is make the knife nice, a brand new sharp knife, and what you do is you will then simply trim that, and you'll have a gap which has got this cork filler but a nice smooth. Usually what we'll do with this is we'll sand it flat, but because there's a tile, it's so easy to scratch this tile with the sanding machine that is not really safe to do. So I would advise rather use a standard type knife and just cut that flush with the floor. You can get in touch with us, Jamie, if you want to get some of this filler. Otherwise, give us a call and we can come out and have a look at it for you, see how we can possibly help. But it's quite important to lift probably that piece of floor, the longboard, and just see if you've got some support underneath. So Rachel said, hi, could you please advise on them be able to remove oil stain from a quarry tile? I've attached a photo of the damage caused by the pile sellers with leaking olive oil. If you would be able to give me a quote so we can send this to the company responsible, highly appreciate the damage of approximately 30 by 30. So you can see the tile there. You can see that has been affected there. And I really want to help Rachel. So thank you very much for sending that in. And I really want to help you. So let's quickly see how we can dive deep into this and explain what's gone on here. So Briefly, I tried to recreate this, but sadly the tile I've got has been sealed before, so it didn't really respond that well. So let's head over to the close-up and show you. What I have here is a quarry tile, and if you look very closely, you'll notice that I've got a darker patch here on this tile. You can sort of just about see it if I hold it at the right angle. You can see that patch is darker there, and this edge here is lighter. So what I did was I cleaned this tile up and I applied some olive oil to this tile, and you can just as well see there's a bit of a darker patch to it. Now the reason why it's not that dark is because actually I've sealed this tile before, and the sealer is repelling the oil. No matter how much I cleaned it, I just couldn't get it to expose to a dry finish. Now what we have here with Rachel is that's probably an outside surface, and it hasn't got, because of the elements, the sealer won't last that long compared to indoor home, inside home. So we've got that there. Now what would happen is, what I would advise, it's actually quite, it's possibly fairly easy to fix this, because what we've now got is this tile here has got a, let's get a close up again. This tile here has got a dark patch because of the oil, and we want to hide that a little bit. So what we'll do is we will be using a color enhancing impregnator. First of all, what we'll do is clean this floor. So what I would do is, let's head over there and I'll show you. What I would use is Tile Masters number 3 cleaner. So this is a highly alkaline cleaner, diluted according to the ratios, applied to the floor, give it a good brush, and then wash it down with a hose. Because it's outside, it should be fairly easy to do. And then once that's done, let it dry thoroughly. And then once that's done and it's dry and clean, you might repeat that process. You can then go ahead and apply color enhancing impregnator. So Rachel, I want to quickly show you what the color enhancing impregnator would do. So what we'll do is, let's head over to the close-up again, and I'll show you. This is a color enhancing impregnator, one of the different version to what the one is I've shown you on the screen there, but it's exactly the same technology. And what we'll do is take this and we'll apply it to this tile. I will apply it to the tile, and you notice as soon as I apply it to the tile, it's hardly visible where that dark oily stain is. Now I wish to bring to your attention that it's not always guaranteed that it totally goes. So in a case, you might need to clean the tile several times, and over time it will actually break down as well. So what it would do now here is enhance the color of the tile so much that basically the whole tile is darker rather than just the patches where the oil has been. So that's the thing, what I would advise there. And Rachel, the reason I point out this to you is because I believe it's fairly easy to do that, and I know that somebody has unfortunately left you with a problem now that you didn't ask for, but it's fairly easy to fix that. And if that fails, then give us a call, we can come out and have a look. But I just want to point out also that we do have a minimum charge policy on something like this, and I'd rather want to help you to make it as economical for you as well at the same time. So we can provide a quote and see how that works. So that's us for today, but before we go, of course, we have to decide who's our winner, our lucky person that has submitted their questions today. And what we're going to do is, let's go over to the Wheel of Fortune there, and we have some names, everybody's that submitted some questions today, and we're ready to give it a spin and see who's got a one. So let's go and have a look. What have we got? What have we got? We've got a Jamie, no, anonymous. Oh, Rebecca Featherstone. So Rebecca, I just want to say thank you so much for submitting your question. Let's head back. Rebecca was asking the question about the parquet floor blocks, and I wish to thank you so much, Rebecca, for asking this question, as well as to everybody else. Do remember that all your names will now go from the board into my envelope, and at the end, everybody that's on the board will get entered into this competition to win one of those 4 prizes, either the wine decanter, or the vacuum cleaner, or the rug, or the £1,000 worth of service from Art of Clean. So to everybody over here, thank you so much for supporting us. Thank you for keep submitting your questions, and thank you for the support of local communities and local businesses. You know, it's not just us that needs you, all the local businesses need your help now, and I just want to say thank you so much. It really means the world to everybody. So thank you very much. Until next time, keep rolling with the questions and stay safe. Thank you now. Bye-bye.